Good evening, everybody. We are officially live here. Just going to wait a minute or two as people hop onto the feed here, just to make sure our audio is working well. I was just personally having some issues with Facebook a few minutes ago, so hopefully it's not locked up and people are on board. But as you're jumping onto the feed, one of the best things you can do is make sure you pop by. Let us know you can hear the audio loud and clear. And we're definitely going to be looking for a ton of interaction today when we get into our topic of Am I an Athlete? I think this is going to be a really good add on to the series of feeds we've been doing. We've talked a lot about the mental game preparations. We've talked a lot about planning our practice sessions, whether it be theory and what to work on. We've practiced positive mindset. And now essentially we're going to start talking about the age old question, which is, are bowlers athlete? And two part to that is, am I an athlete when we ask that question about ourselves? Okay. So as you're coming in, there's a couple things that are going to be pretty cool today. So this is going to be the first feed that we are doing a live giveaway. And how the live giveaway really works is the only way you're going to qualify for that live giveaway is if you are actually putting comments in the comments section. So you physically have to make a comment, and it will capture it in the background. And at some point during the feed, when I choose to do so, I'm going to hit a random draw button, which I should be able to post for you to see. And you can essentially step in and see if you're the lucky person that's going to get tonight's giveaway. So hopefully everybody came prepared to learn, just to hear a little bit of, background information on how, I want to see our players approach the game, how we want to see individuals we're working with approach the game. And my message is no different when I'm talking about myself if I choose to essentially step back in the ring and start competing a little bit more. So when I put the initial post up, one of the things that I put up says, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that is obviously not a quote that is specific to bowling, but it is actually specific to pretty much work, sports, relationship. It can be anything that you have to actually physically work at. All right. So one of the things I think I hear more than not, and I think it's more so from when you ask other individuals who play other sports, is when you ask them what they think about bowling and you call yourself an athlete or you call our game a sport, sometimes you will get a chuckle out of them or a off-color remark that bowling isn't a sport or bowlers are not athletes and they shouldn't be one and the same. Okay. Well, I'm here to tell you that yes and no, that comment can be correct. That comment could be wrong. And really what it comes down to is how you choose to approach the sport we love and how much you're going to dedicate to get better at the sport, understand what needs to be done, and commit yourself in a way that might be different than what you're doing today. Okay. So first and foremost, I love all the comments coming in. This is awesome. Hopefully it's that you wanted to actually listen to the topic and not because you all heard I was giving something away. But regardless of the fact, we love having everybody stop by. And as you're coming in, Jordan, hi, I see your comments coming in. You got Bill and Kevin, Peter, Jason, Christine, Rob, looks like Daryl. We got some plugins coming from YouTube as well. So kind of jumping into the topic of, am I an athlete? All right. When I look at our sport and I look at what it means to be an athlete, is to me, that is any individual that totally wants to devote themselves for the betterment of what they're participating in. Okay. So when you look at a professional baseball player, a professional bowler, a professional boxer, somebody that plays tennis, somebody that aspires to play at a point. We have to first, before we can signify that we're athletes, is we have to understand what that really means and if we're actually going to treat what we're interested in that manner. So for me, an athlete is an individual who is going to look at all aspects of their sport and essentially understand all the elements that go together to athletically train to be the best at what you're doing. Okay. There's so many physically gifted individuals that may bowl, but they may bowl as a game instead of bowling as a sport. And what do I mean by that? And what I mean by that is that they're physically talented, so they enjoy a little bit of good performances, things along those lines, but they don't ever truly unlock their entire potential of how good they really could be. All right. So a very talented player could have a pretty good career, but if that same individual devoted all of their attention to what they're doing, they could unlock things that they didn't even know was possible. So when I look at athlete as a word, athlete doesn't just mean that you're physically gifted to do the sport at hand. It actually means the whole compass of buying into what you're doing. Okay. And that includes training your body for the sport you desire to play, making sure you're taking care of your body by the nutrients and things that we put inside of it, making sure that we take the proper amount of rest to recover from being an athlete, and understanding exactly what those elements are that we need to do. So I think so many individuals that desire to be better at bowling don't actually put all the elements together. So when I look at an athlete, okay, I'm looking at an individual that is going to devote themselves to be physically, mentally, and basically, I'm not saying religion-wise, but spiritually ready to compete at a level that is zoned in and pulling it all together to unlock their true potential. All right. Now, what Coach Smith is not saying here is that you have to be a gym rat or you have to read 5 books a month to make sure you're always mentally tougher. Those things can help. It also doesn't mean that you have to go out and practice 7 days a week, which we talked about in the last feed. Is you need some rest in there as well. But we need to start understanding how we can actually be better athletes. So since comments are coming in, I'm going to ask the first hard question to everybody in this group: that are you physically training your body to prepare to be a better bowler? How many people in this feed right now listening can actually answer the question and say, yes, I fully commit training my body and the parts that go along with it specific to my game to allow myself to unlock? Bill's saying act like an athlete. Sure. We want to not only act like an athlete, I think maybe another word would be we want to train like an athlete. We want to be an athlete. All right. So I can start the equation. Okay. I'm going to start this because I think I'm pretty good about, being self-reflective and understanding that I, for a while, was not committed to strengthening the needed body parts that I need to engage into bowling. Okay. So I did not work on my core strength. I did not work on my leg strength. I did not watch what I was putting into my body. I did not understand fully how bad it had gotten until it went to the other side of it, which was when I wasn't able to compete at all. So looking at someone that are coming through is train hard and consistent, but not specifically for bowling. Okay, good one. Yep. We got another one that came in here that says, yep, train as best as you can to achieve. Now, what are, and I said a few of them, So, from a comments perspective, what do you think would be some good things that we should be focused on when we're in a training session, if you will, with no bowling balls? What do you think some of those would be? And I'm getting a lot of comments coming in saying, no, I'm not training. No, I'm not training. Okay. So as these other comments are coming in, I'm asking the questions about what you can do. I honestly think that 95% of individuals are probably going to come back and say, no, I am not really fully committed to that side of it. Well, guess what? The best bowlers in the world, they are committed. Now, again, there is some that are so physically talented that they see some success without physically training. But when you're looking at long-term individuals who are week in and week out in the mix, there is a formula that goes together that allows these individuals to be as good as they are. And that's because they are treating themselves like athletes. They are training their bodies for their sport. So I made mention to leg strength. Okay. So one of the biggest things that I tell individuals all the time when I'm coaching them, when they're in a private lesson or in a team aspect, environment, anything like that is the most important part of bowling is not your arms. It is not your wrist. It is not your hand. Okay. There is a million different ways that bowling can be taught, but there is one thing that no coach on this planet can argue with me on, and maybe somebody will do it someday, is that we do not, in our approach, walk to the line on our hands. We don't do it. Okay. Maybe somebody's going to try it now. Maybe they're just going to prove a point and say, I'm going to go up to the line with my hands and throw it, right? Our legs are the motor of our swing. Our legs are going to dictate our swing plane, not the other way around. I will argue that until I'm blue in the face. But for years and years, I was taught, even at a young age, that my swing plane was going to dictate what my feet did. And that does not make sense. I'm going to give you the most simplistic thing you're ever going to hear about bowling. Okay. When you are bowling, whether you are 4-step or 5-step, once you drop the ball into the swing, all you do from there is simply walk by your arm. Okay. You walk by your arm. Now, when you think about it in that manner, it starts to get you to really think that when I go to the line, I'm really not thinking about doing something specific with my arm. I don't have to think about some of the ways that I'm walking. But what I do need to be able to rely on is that our legs are so pivotal to having a free swing. Okay. When you get questions all the time like, Coach, I want to generate ball speed. I want to generate rev rate. I want to, I want to do all these things in bowling. And the biggest things I come back to them and say is leg speed, foot speed, get moving, right? The thing we hear so often in bowling that I hear and cringe every time I hear it is when I hear people in the background telling somebody to slow down, especially when it is a kid. Okay. I'm never really going to tell a kid to slow down because guess what? The kids need to generate the foot speed because they don't have the physical power to do it with their upper body. And we don't want to teach them that anyway. We want them to generate the foot speed, to generate the inertia, to generate the speed and the power that they're creating, because as they grow into their bodies, we will essentially be able to smooth it out a lot easier down the road. When you slow down, all you're simply doing is deaccelerating. You are losing power, and you are going to promote grabbing the ball and getting very steep in your swing. So our legs and our core, our abdomen, things along that are so important to be stable and strong and be able to support us to make balanced shots. Okay. So some things that you can do as an athlete and think like an athlete. I'm not saying you have to go to the gym. Walking, cardio, things like that. Yes, those are great things to do. I fully committed myself this year, and I know Carrie jumped on here at one point. She's bowling league, but she will tell you that I do not miss a beat when it comes to my cardio workouts to keep weight off. Okay. That for me has been the biggest thing to get my leg strength up, to essentially understand how much my core was not supporting what I was trying to do. And as I started to regain my leg strength, my game started to turn around without touching any other aspect of what I was doing. I had it here, right? I knew what I wanted to do, but my body was failing me because I had failed my body. Athletes do not fail their bodies. Athletes actually focus on what it takes to fuel the body, what it is with preparation, what you're putting inside of it to make the strength come through. Okay. So your legs and your core. So other thing you can do, walking is a good one. I really like lunges. I like squats without having heavy weight, anything along those lines, because again, we're not trying to be bulky individuals in our sport, right? Some of the best to be able to do it, you're going to see that are relatively lean. They can get more elongated. They utilize their legs and their length a little bit more. Because remember, when we're generating power and speed and things like that, similar to golf, which I use a lot, we're trying to basically create elongation, to create longer swing planes, and to allow ourselves to generate speed and power. Okay. We're doing that with our legs. Again, do not slow down. Okay. So if you are a coach on here, or you have kids, or you're doing it yourself, don't keep going back to thinking it is you going too fast. Now, do not confuse this, okay? I am perfectly okay with your first 1 or 2 steps, if you're 4 or 5 steps, being slower, shorter, whatever you need. But you have to have a cadence at each step you take going into the line. You're going to be going in with generating more speed going in. So we want to be firing into the line, our body moving forward. We're creating leverage. We're creating power, we're creating speed, whatever we want to do. And the more you start to rely and know that that's going to happen, you are going to unlock things you didn't know you were capable of doing. Where it doesn't come from is trying to muscle the ball with your upper body, trying to think that you have to do it all with your wrist. Okay. There is plenty of positions that can help along with those things, but your power and rev rate is going to increase way more if you commit to using your legs. Okay. One thing you can do, like I said, squats, lunges. You can do leg raises sitting down, just general walking. You don't have to run. You don't have to do things that are really hard on your body. Okay. But that's starting to think about what you can do to be an athlete. Now, the other thing is that we don't ever take into consideration sometimes what happens before we start to bowl too. So the other thing that we need to understand is flexibility of our body. Okay. So flexibility of our body, you have to understand we want to be as limber and less rigid as we can. Okay. So somebody just put it up, as Bernie just put it up. He goes, I use resistance bands, which I really like resistance bands, especially for stretching, right? But there's so many things that we do not take into consideration at all, right? So we do this not only when we're not bowling, but I see it all the time when people are getting warmed up for their league play or their tournaments and stuff. We don't treat ourselves like athletes when we get to the bowling center either. Now, I could joke around. I go to league on a Monday night, and the first thing I do when I get there is get a beer. Okay, you know what? It's Monday night. I want to have some fun too. But what you will see me do, and I think it doesn't matter what the age is we're one of the only sports where you don't see people physically warming up, right? You see warm up when practice comes on, but what they're missing is they're doing nothing to get the muscles in the body firing and warm and heated up to get ready to get the blood flowing in the body to allow you to be as limber as you possibly can. Okay. So when you go to, let's say, a pro football game, they come out, you'll see the whole team basically on the field, and they're doing all kind of calisthenics and stretching and things along those lines, getting the body loose. Some of them do wind sprints and things along those lines. And we don't ever do that. You don't see a lot of individuals that are doing that. I mean, you got to think about it. Think about the body parts that you're essentially going to use, right? The body parts you're going to use are your legs. Okay. So we want to make sure we're getting loose in the legs. Maybe we're doing, some Sia squats. We're doing bending the legs back and forth, making sure the knees are firing. We know we're going to be using our hands, making sure even getting blood flow to the hands and shaking them out, getting the hands nice and limber, stretching the arms and the legs. These are all elements that are skipped. Okay. So if you want to train like an athlete and you want to be seen as an athlete, then you have to start thinking like one, right? When you're doing this at your regular practice session, whether you're doing it at league on whatever night you're at, whether you're doing it at a tournament you're at, give yourself ample time to arrive to the venue, do the stretches, get loose, and prepare yourself. That way, when you get into physically being able to physically throw a bowling ball, the first ones don't hurt so darn bad, right? That's how people get hurt, right? And we see this all the time. And sometimes, I'll go as far as saying, trying to talk to leagues sometimes when they want to cut practice down to 7 minutes or they want to take 2 shots every frame. I look at individuals and go, that's just promoting injury, okay? Look, if you're a league or a tournament director or things along those times, some people go, oh, that might be too much time. But especially as we're aging, we need to give more time to allow our bodies to really get loose, because that's how we avoid strains and sprains and then essentially feeling things in the wrong manner. And just so everybody is on here, I am watching comments and I'm going to try to hit some of these as we go by. So I'm not missing anything on here. Jameson, hi, buddy. It's been a while since I saw you. Hopefully I get to work with you soon. Ariel, I see on there. Terry, Matt, Bill, Peter. We got so many people stopping by here today. This is pretty great. Love to see it. Chris, what's going on? Daryl, let me see what your comment says here. Let me put it up for the group. Let me try to answer some of these as we're going through too. So you sometimes, as an up-and-comer and even to becoming a good and great player, you can get by with no training, very little practice. But as you get longer tournaments and facing better players, you need a body, especially their legs. Yeah, if you've ever bowled a longer format, right, you're going to, if you don't train like a true athlete, you're going to fatigue. You're going to get gassed. You're not going to feel like you did when you started the event. And for me, I use this a very good example because of all the surgeries that I've had, especially with my slide leg being the one with all 14 of those knees on there and having the back problems that go along with it. For me, keeping that stuff strong, thinking like an athlete and getting back in there is what's going to allow me to actually compete. I will say about 2 years ago, before COVID, I had really gotten pretty lean and it was feeling good. I was competing a bunch. Nothing was hurting. And then, I did the American way. I got lazy and stuff started to hurt. And guess what? I couldn't compete. And, I don't want to get back to that. So some other ones coming up in here. Christine. Yep. Christine, or Chris, if you will, only being 4'9". Carrie's been working with me. Move back up on the approach, 12, 15 inches, generate more foot speed. My ball speed has increased 12 miles from 10. Okay. Perfect example, right? We did that with foot speed, right? We didn't do that with trying to throw it harder. When you try to throw it harder, all you're going to do is pull the ball to the top and pull it down from the top, and all kinds of bad stuff is going to happen. Let me go back down here a little more. Older, don't forget to work on your mind, concentration, limber, wrist, and fingers. Yeah, and the mind thing is we've definitely spent a lot on the mental topic on that. Where we do our thinking, where we don't do the thinking. But yeah, you can get mentally strong. Some people, athletes, when they're warming up and they're getting in their element and stuff, that's a perfect opportunity. If you're one that likes to kind of turn off all the white noise, is throw a set of headphones in, go through your routines, treat yourself like you're going to go bowl the US Open. Okay. Think about it in a mentality in a different way, that if I want to be truly great at what we're doing, I need to prepare myself completely different than what I've done in the past. And that's what we're really talking about today, right? So when you get to the point when you're getting into your practice routines, a great thing that you can do when you go out to practice the next time is really focus on how your legs are really feeling, how you feel when you first start warming up. That's going to tell you the things that you should really focus on or what you need to stretch. Like if you're a person that constantly has, hamstrings that are hurting a little bit, then focus more on that. If you're a person that has, the back doesn't feel exceptionally good, make sure you're doing some extensions and things along those lines. That's going to help you in the long term. Another question coming through here as we're going through for me is then what are the best ways to do this at the alley? So, and Peter, I don't think there's a wrong way, but one of the things I really like to do, especially from the hands and the joints. Okay. So again, you could grab onto your ankle and pull back and get moving on that, put it up on a chair, stretch the hamstrings out. When you're doing your hands, one of the things I really like to do to get my hands limber and moving is, I kind of wiggle the joints on every single finger that are going on that. I like to actually put my hands together, if you will, and I rotate one way, rotate back the other way, get the hand springs going back. You can kind of feel that loosening up back in here, pulling back, going the other extension the other way, getting them loose, pushing down on the wrist section. Anything that you do to get everything moving and get the blood flow going is more than what we were doing yesterday, right? Which is a big one. There's so many questions coming through. I'm trying to capture them all here and still stay on topic. Carrie put up, this is one we do on Heaven here. I recommend a mini massage gun for everyone. We use ours a lot at tour, helps loosen up. It's a true one. And if something's helping in between and you are hurting a little bit, that's a way to give yourself treatment because, maybe unlike some of the other sporting events, we might not have a person there to take care of us right off the bat. But, you can prepare yourself by having these things readily available to you. Now, another area that kind of ties into it from an athlete's perspective is that there is a lot of things that I think bowlers don't think about, and that is it from a nutritional standpoint. And I'm not here to give you a dietitian lecture or anything along those lines, but athletes, when they go to compete, especially if you're going to be in a longer format, that your next meal isn't going to be, for a long period of time. Let's say you're bowling a 7 or an 8 game block, right? You need to make sure that you're actually fueling your body at all times. And this doesn't just include food, it includes fluids. I think there's a lot of individuals that probably give themselves the wrong fluids sometimes when they're bowling in events and they're drinking Cokes and sugary products and things along those lines. I see a lot of people walk in with like Monsters and Red Bulls and things like that. Look, I'm not saying no athletes drink these things or do those things, but that is not this type of stuff you want to be putting in your body to essentially prepare yourself for a longer format, right? Some people are on different types of diets where, they control carbohydrates and things along those lines. But the thing is that you need to make sure the nutrients you're putting in your body for your body type are going to fuel you to give you the energy you need to compete. Because if you're going to go in and you do all the stretching in the world and you go in with the right mindset, but your body is tired or your body isn't properly fed, like you didn't eat before you went, that stuff is going to inhibit you from having your true potential of what that day is. Okay. You don't think about it sometimes, but bowling, you are exerting calories. You're exerting a lot of moving body parts that are going on. You need to make sure that you fuel the body to start, and then make sure that you have smaller snacks and things like that along with you that you can munch on a little bit while you're eating. Some people like bananas or granola, certain types of, whether it's protein bars or something that's just going to hold you over, that keeps the body fulfilled. And then what you should be doing to that to make it, you have that kind of full feeling, is to make sure that you're taking in enough fluids, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's hot and you're going to lose fluids, but your body as it's burning off energy and everything else, you essentially need to make sure that you're taking enough water intake in to make sure that your muscles stay fired. Okay. When you're parching yourself and you're starting to dehydrate, you are actually making the joints and stuff in your body stiffen, and they're not hot, they're not ready to go. And you're, without thinking, you start to think you're doing something wrong physically. But what it really is your body is starting to fail on you because you haven't taken care of it. You haven't respected what your body needs. Your body is a super complex, basically computer, right? And you need to take the input and the outputs to put it in to make sure that that vehicle, if you will, is going to continue to run well. So treat your body like an athlete, right? Stay away from sodium and all kind of salty items and things like that are going to make you retain water in the wrong ways. Take in regular water. Ditch the sodas while you're competing. Carrie just said she has her big water bottle with her at all times, and that's big. Make sure you're actually doing it, okay? And that's for any of us. Let me see. Some other ones are coming through here. This one's coming from Brian. If you do a lot of strength training and cardio outside of bowling specific work, it's also important to time your workouts so you're doing not so sore type from workouts to the point where their hammies or flexibility, ability of your muscles to fire. Sure. I mean, you can definitely overdo it with any body part for anything that you're participating in. I mean, you see in other sports sometimes when people overtrain in a way, it can lead to pulled muscles. So like if you're overtraining a particular body part that isn't really smart for bowling, it can inhibit you, right? Focus on the ones that are going to help. Another question coming in here from Bill. Due to physical trauma, I experience neurological issues. How can I overcome issues that cause me to freeze, therefore no walking and swinging? That's a tough one. It's similar to neuropathy. We hear that a lot in joints or individuals that have carpal tunnel or kind of sensation issues. Um, no walking, no swinging. The best thing I would say for that, Bill, is if you can't do some of those physical limitations, stay within yourself for what your body allows. And I know that's hard. It's a hard question for me to just come back and answer. And I would probably, not being a doctor myself, it would probably be a really good one to explain to your doctors when you meet with them. I'm sure you see them now from these issues, like your love for bowling, because sometimes they can help you by understanding the movements you make, right? So when I go in, for instance, I had a lot of problems with my rear ribs flying out of position, which is very painful. And by me going in and working closely with my chiropractic group, they were able to really understand the physical aspect of what I put my body through when I'm competing. So understanding the motions of the bowling swing, understanding what it does and what areas could be effective and how things intertwine. Because remember, everything in our body is connected. Okay. In one way or another, it's connected from a motion that we're making. So when they started to understand the movements I make, they were able to come up with a game plan for me that helped me to stretch in certain ways, to help me get limber in certain ways, to avoid getting to the point where I feel like I was completely inhibited from doing it. So saying with that is no different than, let's say you're working with a personal trainer, and I'm not name dropping here at all, but from the bowling aspect, there's plenty of individuals like Heather D'Erico, Johnny DeSantis, and things like that who have actually devoted a lot of time. And I'm sorry, it's Heather Sterner at this point. I don't want to get beat up for that one. So sorry, Heather. Heather Sterner and DeSantis, they've actually gone out, and I think they do a really good job of putting together some physical routines specific to bowlers. Okay. Because being bowlers themselves and then also being physical trainers, they have kind of gone out and given a set of items you can work on to strengthen some of the things we're talking about. and it's devoted to being the athlete and bringing that into each individual. Okay. So hopefully it helps a little bit, Bill, but I don't have a specific one to tell you which way to go. But I think that would be a really good one to talk through with the doctors and let them be as smart as they are to understand what that means to your game. And that can go a long way. And at the end of the day, there is going to be physical limitations. I mean, I'm 44 now, and with the multiple surgeries and things like that over the year, I definitely cannot do the things I did when I was 20 years old. I can't make physical movements with my body. I can't turn in specific ways. I can't open my shoulders as much as I did. But what I did was treated myself like an athlete to understand what my threshold was, and then learn to adapt what I had to do to make the best version of my swing that I could. And I will tell you that a lot of it always comes back to the same thing, which is I have got to make my legs as strong as possible so I can physically use them to generate power that I can't do like I was when I was younger, when I could effortlessly get it to the top of the swing and down. I adapted. I adapted it to what I could do, what doesn't hurt, because bowling's not supposed to hurt, and tried to make myself the best version of that. All right. We've had a lot of people dropping comments and things like that in there. And I will tell you that when you're dropping comments in, you only get credit for one. So if you've made a comment on the feed, you're going to go into the kind of the drawing I'll do here in a little while. But hopefully this is starting to make a lot of sense here and get you thinking about what you can do to continue to evolve into these practice routines and what we're doing. All right. So let's recap some of it, which is essentially train your lower body, train yourself like an athlete when you're not at the bowling center. Okay. If you really want to be elite, or you really want to be the best, or you strive to improve what you're doing, then commit to all aspects of it. Okay. I can't stress that enough, that you got to have your legs engaged, your core strength in there. You have to have your mental toughness, and you have to feed your body the fuel that it needs to essentially be ready. Stretching is a huge aspect of that. We want to get our joints as limber as possible. Goodness, I wish I could move my body like I did when I was in my teens. That would be great to have joints moving in those areas. And I think it is something that's essential. But since I'm getting up to the about 40-minute mark here, I'm going to try to go to this other screen right now and bring it in and share a screen. And I'm going to make sure we can get this giveaway to work with the ones that are on there. Let's see if I can share a screen here. A little smaller. Let's see if I can draw. Look at these names. You probably should be able to see that flipping through here. But it's going through, and Bernie Hayes Jr. I don't know if you guys could see that. Hopefully you could see that coming through. Did it show? Bernie Hayes Jr., you are actually the winner of the giveaway tonight. And what I'm giving away goes off the theme of what we basically share each and every single day, which is to be better than we were yesterday. And I had going to be getting your information for you, Bernie, and I'm going to be sending you a Better Than Yesterday t-shirt. They are produced as one of my signature lines by the great folks over at Coolwick. So, Bernie, you know how to get a hold of me. So either send me a text or a Facebook message, anything along those lines, and give me basically size and stuff like that, and where I'm shipping it to, and I'm going to drop ship it right to you. So was everybody able to see that drawing? Did it actually come through? When I flip to the other screen, I can't see it. So hopefully it did. All right. Let me take that one off the screen there and get it back onto the other one. Okay, good. Came through there. To answer your question, Peter, We basically do these talks every Wednesday. This is a segment that has continued. We've done these for a long time. We've done a lot of Wisdom Wednesdays. We used to do a ton with Talk About It Tuesday, which we talk a lot about new balls coming out. Throw It Thursday segments where we're throwing balls down the lane, which we definitely want to get back to those folks. It's just trying to align the right amount of people and the time. And everybody that knows me knows I wear a ton of hats. I'm a very busy person, but I will definitely, get on here as much as I possibly can to talk about, things that I've just learned over the years and put together and understand. And hopefully we inspire individuals to be better than they were yesterday, be better versions of themselves, and love the sport as much as I do. And I see it all the time, and I think it's awesome. So, I mean, if you are new to the program and you're coming on, we have hundreds of hours of content that you can find on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is it's Pure Bowling. If you go on there, you'll find hours and hours of content. We do our best to answer questions at all times. And if you're new and you know others, by all means, share our feeds with them. We are always looking to help as many people as we possibly can. And we are much bigger and better when there's numbers. When we learn together, we work together, we fail together, we succeed together, we get more joy out of it than we would trying to ever face anything by ourselves. And that's every aspect of life, folks. And I want bowlers out there to be mentally tough. I want them to be physically prepared. I want you to be thinking about all aspects of this. If you want to be great, we can get you there. Okay. But you got to be the ones that commit. I can't do it for you. Just like you can't do it for me. I cannot commit to you working hard. You have to own that. Okay. When you actually go through and you really are going to devote yourself to be better than you were yesterday, you're going to get a different sense of fulfillment. And trust me, if you do these things and you start looking at that mirror and you look in that mirror and say, I want to be an athlete, I want to be the best that I can possibly be. Okay. You are going to start to unlock possibilities you didn't think were there for you. Okay. People around you will start to notice. Positive outlook, hard work. Those are things that go notice that you don't ever need to talk about. All right. There's nowhere and no time are you ever going to hear out of my mouth try to tell you how good I am at something. If you are good at something and you are dedicated to something, your work, your ability, your performance is going to do all the talking for you. The greatest to ever do it aren't the ones that told you how great they are. The greatest that ever did it in any sport are the ones that showed us, the ones that were devoted, the ones that were committed, the ones that worked harder. They were the first ones that were in a facility and the last ones leaving. They were the ones that people looked up to without having to ask somebody to look at them. These are things that every single one of you that are on this feed can be. You can do. You can achieve it. You can be absolutely anything you want to be. And if you failed 100,000 times, it doesn't matter if tomorrow you get one thing right. Every single day, if you take the time to devote to yourself, to own your actions, to want to be better than you were the day before, it's going to happen for you. And I promise you, when you start to change the mindset and you start to look at things in a different spectrum and through different eyes, you're going to be a better version of yourself than you ever thought was possible. All right. Kind of sounded like a little bit of a rant or a TED talk there, but I think it's essential for everybody to hear it. I'm on a quest myself. Okay. I had, as a young kid, I dreamed of getting a tour title, and I haven't gotten one. Okay. I haven't gotten one. If anybody has seen me in the last, I'd say, month, I'm throwing it pretty good. I am started the nutrition side of it. I've started devoting to getting myself in the shape it needs to be, a better version of myself at this. And as time permits here, you're going to really see the practice routine ramp up. And I am going to go get me a title. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I don't know when I'm going to be able to compete again with all the hats I wear, but I'm going to get one. And I want you to have that hunger inside of you too. So I am absolutely humbled by all the comments today. I love the interaction. I love the feedback saying how much people are enjoying these. And do me a favor. If I'm inspiring you, you go out yourself and inspire one person tomorrow or one person this week or one person this year, and you are going to be better than you were yesterday. If you want to share the experiences of what you're learning here, what you learn on our Better Than Yesterday feeds in the morning, encourage your friends to stop by. They don't have to be bowlers. You can pull out of this message anything you want, no matter what sport you choose to play. All right. I'm here to help develop you. Lean on me. I got broad shoulders. I'm here to work for you. And I am going to make you all better than yesterday. So I appreciate everybody's time tonight. I am definitely doing a feed next week. Okay. Then I may end up having a week or two off because this guy's actually going to take a vacation. But I appreciate everybody. And I'm going to sign off for the night. Enjoy the rest of your week. And tune in tomorrow morning. Be better than yesterday, folks. See ya.